enemy wants you to do, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the reason. Maybe, and see, when that starts to happen, you start to condemn yourself. You start having condemnation. Maybe I'm the bad boy. Maybe I'm the bad girl. Maybe it's me. He says, no. This type of trial, a spiritual trial, is not because something's wrong with you spiritually. It's not because you are a wicked son or a wicked daughter. It's not because you've been just a bad boy or a bad girl. He says, don't think that is something that's going on that's unusual with you. And the problem becomes, we get surprised at the test, we don't recognize it's a test, and then we think it's about us that's jacked up, and that's why it's happening in the first place. Let me explain something to you. When you're inside of a school and the teacher gives you a test, she doesn't give you a test because you've been a bad boy or a bad girl or something is wrong with you. A test is given because the teacher wants to see you succeed. Can you imagine being back in school and Miss Johnson comes to give you a test and you say, oh, you must don't like me. You must not love me. Because if you love me, you wouldn't be giving me these tests. If you love me, you would not be putting things that I'm struggling with in front of me. Love don't allow you. You must not love me. And we take that same mentality and we bring it to God the Father, the King of Kings, and the Lord of Lords. Lord, you must not love me, because if you did, why do you keep giving me the test in front of me? Is it me, God? Is something unusual with me? Is it something, do you have a problem with me? And we say, woe is me mentality. And we say, God, you abandoned me. God, you left me. God says, I haven't left you. I'll be with you even to the end of the age. You misinterpreting the trials that I have in front of you. You're misinterpreting the agenda of what I'm sending. You're misinterpreting why I'm giving you what I'm giving you to go through. And it's not to break you, it's to bend you towards me.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
That's something to write down. It's not to break you. It's to bend you towards Him. So we recognize there's nothing that's wrong with you. Now, there's two different ways of how to handle this. Is right here in the text. He says this in verse number 13. Instead, now that instead lets us know there's an option. That verse 13 says, instead, rejoice as you share in the suffering. Now, you can handle this suffering one way, two ways. Number one, it's a me mentality. Woe is me. It's me. It's I'm the problem. Woe is me. He said, no, it's nothing about you. It's nothing weird about you. It's nothing about you. Don't be surprised. It's a test. Don't be taken off guard. There's nothing unusual with you. So he says, but instead, so that's the first option, meaning you can have a woe is me mentality. Write it down, which simply means immaturity. Woe is me is immature, but instead, here's what he says the other option is. I want you to rejoice. In other words, the other option for you to do with your sufferings is be thankful for your sufferings. That's maturity. Have you ever got to a point in your life that when you're going through the most difficult times, you still got on your lips, praise is what I do. Even when I'm going through. No matter if I'm sad, no matter if I'm happy, regardless of what I'm going through, praise is what I do. He says, instead, rejoice of the suffering. Don't be depressed of the suffering. Don't be mad of the suffering. Don't be want to wallow on the floor because of your suffering. Don't be depressed because of the suffering, but rejoice in the sufferings. And so, two ways of handling it. Woe is me mentality, which is immaturity. Or number two, be thankful, which it takes maturity to be thankful while suffering. I said it takes maturity to be thankful while suffering. And so it is, he says, rejoice. Now, this word rejoice is to show expression of joy and gladness. So let me help some of you. He's saying instead, show gladness. Instead, have joy. He says, I want you to have joy and as you share in this sufferings. Now, what is he asking you to share about? He says, because some of us, we want to share in the things of God, that some things that we hold accountable to God. God, you said in your word that you said you would never leave me nor forsake you. God, you said in your word that, lo, I'll be with you always. God, you said in your word that you're able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can ask or think. But I don't want to share your sufferings with you. See, we hold God accountable to what his promises are, but we're not reminded that we're supposed to share in the sufferings of what he's gone through to give you the promises of his word. Right. Share in those sufferings. He says you want to reign with me, but you don't want to suffer. In order for God's glory, listen, look at what it says. It says, instead rejoice in the sufferings of the Messiah, so that you also may rejoice with the great joy of revelation. He says, yes, I know that I have plans to prosper you